everyone, it's Jennifer with DP Addiction Adventures. Welcome back. We are working on one of my gorgeous girls. She's catching stars. This was by Anna's Store / Home Fun. I know I've posted a couple photos of it in the groups and I've said that I don't recommend it. People have questioned me why I don't recommend it. I'm not going to go into it in this video. I'll do a post review. I'm very close to being done. I'm going to move you for a minute. I just have 2 more strips. So I've got this section here and then the section right here that you see. And I'm doing larger sections that I normally do because I'm only doing halfway, not the full way. And then there's also large sections like right here. This is only 3 colors. This is only like 3 or 4 colors. So it goes more quickly by having more exposed. So yeah, that's just kind of where we're at. So put you back down, land you there. Excuse me. So I will do a post review of this, explaining in a little bit more detail why I do not recommend Anna's Store and Home Fun. And it's more, you know, just the ease of use due to drill quality, canvas quality, customer service, accuracy. This was a custom, and one of the 2 gorgeous girls I did through them, the custom looks amazing and the clouds came out amazing. And then this one, the clouds weren't the best. So just consistency and different things like that. So I'll go over in more detail. So yeah, I am home from soccer practice and homework is done. If you saw my video before, we are all set to go tonight. My dog, you'll hear in the background, she's spastic for some reason. I don't know why, but she decides that she wants to run up and down the stairs every time I'm on the video. And my craft table is right next to our family room stairs. Excuse me. And if you know me and subscribe, you know that as soon as the camera goes on, my yawning starts. So forgive me for that. So yeah, let's dive in. Not much to report on an update with me. We kind of said it in my preview. We're re-entering soccer practice and band practice, and you know, the only reason we really can afford time-wise this travel league is because my daughter is currently an only child. We are in the adoption process, and I'm not saying she won't be in the travel league once we adopt, but because of such significant age difference, she will be driving and ready to go by the time our other little person is 6 or 7 and into sports or band or dance or anything they want to be into. We will support. So yeah, my husband is out right now doing shifting. I don't know if you are in an area that you know what shifting is. SHIP as in Peter, T as in Thomas. That is where you can have somebody go grocery shopping for you. So on Tuesday nights, he goes out and he does that, and he gets paid to do that. And he goes to a certain store that's contracted by the company, does the grocery shopping, drops it off, and he gets paid and then tipped and stuff. So that's his technology budget. Because right now, with all the saving up for the adoption that we're doing, I told him that Tuesday night, since I wasn't really home anyway, because of all the practices that he could go do that. So that's where he's at. That means once the kiddo's tucked in, I'm flying solo till usually about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And so it's a diamond painting night. Although tonight, I'm just exhausted. I debated whether or not to share this publicly because I don't want to call attention to it, but I struggle with chronic fatigue. I don't know if you guys are aware of what that is, but if I reach too much stress or don't get enough sleep in my life, or I have an episode where my body shuts down, it's like basically getting the flu on steroids. Like my body just, it aches. I'm exhausted. I can't even. Zoe, stop it. She's a nut. If you want to see what she looks like, go back to some earlier videos. From time to time she makes an appearance because she likes to butt herself in. Anyway, back to the story. So yeah, I just, really struggle sometimes with overexhaustion, and sleep doesn't do it. Like, it's not a sleep thing. It affects my immune system. Usually I get sick really bad. Like, it starts out maybe with a sinus infection or an ear infection, and it, like, within 2 days will go into pneumonia, high fevers, body aches, so exhausted that you want to cry. That's how exhausted you are. Just moving hurts. You don't even want to stand and shower, just different things like that. So I didn't really have a full-fledged episode, but I was starting to, because whenever there's a significant change in my life, it likes to flare itself up. And with my daughter's school starting and work schedules, and for my anxiety, I like to stay home and only do 1 to 2 things during the week. And right now I'm gone every night of the week, and that's a big change. So yeah, I just bear with me. I just thank you for the support. Diamond painting has really helped with the emotional side of things to calm down. And what's really funny is, as a therapist, I know the ebbs and flows. Like, I know the warning signs. I know kind of when it's coming. I feel, it's not depression, but I feel that, drawn down. Okay, like, I need to slow down. I need to make self-care and me time. And I have to train myself that self-care is not selfish. If I am empty and there's nothing left of me, I do not have anything else left to give. And so how can I be a good mom, a good wife, a good friend, a good employee, a good therapist without having myself adequately rested and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's just kind of that balance I'm struggling with. I'm getting there. It's just always the new school year, the fall, just different things like that. So I am so thankful to have diamond painting. I'm having a lot of fun with this little mini Drill With Me series of the embarrassing tales of Jennifer. And let me know if there's another little mini drill subject that you may want me to do. I'll brainstorm and try to figure out some things. I know I haven't really found my niche. Like, when I think of Donnie with diamond painting with Donnie and Teslin, I think of unboxings. And when I think of Ella, I think of just getting real with kicking cancer's butt. And when I think of Brandy, I think of super detailed, honest, tell it like it is. So like everybody, there's many, many more. But I feel like everybody kind of has like a little niche, a little thing that just interests them, and they dive in and they do it. And I have so many ideas that I just don't even know where to go. And so if you have anything that could help me narrow down those ideas and come up with something that really helps DP Addiction Adventures become like its own, I don't want to say entity, that's too big, but become like its own thing, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep trying things and throwing things at the wall that I enjoy until something sticks. So that's that. All right, number 2 on my updates, or 3 or 4, I don't know where we're at. I didn't make a list, making this up as I go. I am so excited. We have stayed over 100 subscribers. Thank you so, so much, everybody. I think last time I checked, we were over 120. So thank you. I hope you are enjoying being a part of this family as much as I am. I'm trying to explore as I see that you subscribe to see if you have channels or Facebook pages and just kind of get to know you a little bit better. So thank you, and I look forward to continuing our growth as a family. So I just wanted to give that shout out. All right, let's dive in. Otherwise, I'm going to have to call this a long drill with me, right? Okay, so Embarrassing Tales of Jennifer, Part 2. Imagine it, right? Like we talked about, imagine Cicely and Golden Girls. So imagine it. I'm in college. I'm a junior. I am working 3 jobs, okay? I worked on campus. I worked as a cashier at Home Depot. And then I also didn't get paid, but I interned for my undergrad degree in psychology. I also was taking a full load. I had 16 credit hours. I had switched my degree, my focus from 3 years of graphic design to 2.5 years to psychology. So I was 5 classes of psychology trying to play catch up so that I could finish still in 4 years. All right. I was with this was my senior year. I'm sorry, it was my senior year, not my junior year. But everything else is true. Everything, I was working 3 jobs. I was engaged to be married to my husband, and so I was planning a wedding as well. So picture it, I'm working, I think it was 15 hours a week at the school, 25 hours a week at Home Depot, 20 hours a week internship, 16 credit hours, planning a wedding, trying to keep up friendships, engaged. My husband at the time was working, so we were trying to find time together. And I had when I worked at Home Depot, I had certain days of the week that fit my schedule. So I usually worked Saturdays from 6 a.m. to like 2. So I could get 8 hours in. But that meant that I had to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, be ready and leave and out the door by 5:30 because I had to be in the parking lot through Home Depot, clocked in, apron on, and at the register by 6 a.m. And usually they had a store meeting, so that meant that usually I had to be there even earlier. So my alarm was usually set for 4:30. And being that it was Saturday, I was usually up really late on Friday, so I was getting, 4 hours of sleep or less. And then I would have to go to work, and then I'd come home and I'd crash and I'd sleep from like 2 to 5, 2 to 6, and then I would get up and I would do some homework, be with friends, and then I had a Saturday night shift at school till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And that was my day, okay? So that's the setting. And I woke up and I go out to my car, and it's super early. It's still dark out. And I go to where I thought my car was parked, right? And I get there and there's no car, okay? And it's not like there was even a car in the spot. There was no car in the parking spot, which is unheard of at my school because we didn't have enough parking. So if you didn't get home at a decent time, usually after 11 p.m., there was like no parking spots, and you had to park out like 2 or 3 lots away. You had to walk back, or they did have what was called campus safety shuttles. So you could drive up to those blue poles that had the light on it, press the button. If it was past a certain point for safety, they would then have you sit in your car with your lights on. They would drive through the parking lot, park behind your car. You would get out, lock your door, hop in their car, and they would drive you to your campus apartment. So many times I would have to do this and knew the system well because of how late I usually was working. However, this particular weekend, I was home most of the weekend except for the Saturday shift. And so I go out to the parking spot at 5:15 in the morning, which no student is up at that time on a Saturday at a college, and there's no car. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like walking up and down and up and down and up and down the parking lot. And I can't find my car anywhere. And I had a really old car. It was, you guys are going to laugh at me when I say really old, but to me, it was an 89 Buick Skylark. At that point, it was 2003. So that would mean that it was 10, 14 years old, okay? And to me, that was old for a car. It was somewhat of a boat to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm freaking out. My car's been stolen, okay? And when I went back to the parking spot where my car was supposed to be parked, there was clearly glass on the driver's side of the parking spot, okay? Just in case I was delusional, I called campus safety. They were driving around looking for my car in other lots. I told them the 2 or 3 other lots. I ended up calling my fiance and telling him, and he drove over. He lived like 3 blocks away in a house with a bunch of guys, and so he threw on his clothes. He had to be at work at 8, but he, bless his heart, threw on his clothes, drove over to check on me, and drove around a little bit himself because he knew what my car looked like, and he didn't see it. So we decided to call the non-emergency police line, and I called into work, and my excuse was, I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it. I'm having car issues. I didn't tell them what the issue was, okay, because I didn't know what was going on. So the cop comes, he checks out the spot, he comes to the apartment. At this point, my husband, well, I keep calling him my husband, but he was my fiance. He goes back home. I told him he could because he had to go to work. Filled out a police report, told him everything that happened. Ended up calling my parents to tell them that I thought my car was stolen, so that when the insurance company woke up, you know, because it was still early, they could call. So yeah, that, and then I was so flustered and frustrated. What am I going to do? I can't afford another car. And our insurance on it was the kind of, if we hit somebody else, our insurance would pay for it, for my car and for their car, but there was no like stolen insurance if our car was stolen. So yeah, I just felt, I was like, fine. I was like, I just need to go to bed. I'm done. I'm done with this. So the cop left the apartment and took off. I was still fully dressed, laid back down, and sorry, I'm trying to switch drills and talk at the same time. So I laid back down, and the phone rings, and I had a cell phone at the time, but it was one that you had to pay by month, and it was like $35 for 60 minutes. I was a broke college student. I only used my phone for like calling out on emergencies. So our apartment phone rang, and my roommate answered it, and she said it was for me, and I said fine. So she brought me the phone, and I'm laying in bed, and my fiance was like, Jennifer, he's like, I think I found your car. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like seriously, is it down the street, totaled? Is it like ripped apart? Now, granted, the police officer had said that this particular Buick Skylark model was one of the few models that car thieves were looking for because it was extremely easy to break into with like a hanger to unlock the door, and it was very easy to start the car. Now, I don't know anything about cars. If that's not true, please don't yell at me in the comments. That's just what the officer was telling me. So this was all fed into the story. We saw the glass on the ground. The parking spot was empty. There was not another empty spot in the whole lot. I swear that's where I parked it. I had not driven it since Thursday night. This was Saturday morning. And so my husband calls, or my fiance, sorry, we've been married 15 years this month. It's hard not to say husband. So my fiance calls and he tells me, I think I found your car. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And he said, it's in the Alpha lot. And I was like, what? And it was like someone had splashed cold water on me, and all my memories came flooding back. The fog lifted from being exhausted. I clearly did not remember where I parked my car. And I always parked it in a certain spot because I know my brain gets foggy. But evidently on Thursday, there is a lot that only held like 10 to 15 cars. It is right next to the apartment building that I lived in. And so it was like prime real estate, and nobody got that spot. And usually when you got the spot, you kept it forever because you didn't move your car. Okay. I guess all the memories came back that I had come back from my internship on Thursday. I was exhausted. I decided that I wasn't going to be able to make one of my classes. I parked in that lot, and because it was like 2 p.m., people had already left for school or they left for their afternoon job, and so there were some spots left. And I was like, oh, let me take this spot. By the way, Jennifer, remember in your head you are parked here. And I was like, crap. Okay. So I jump out of bed. Again, I'm fully clothed. I thank him. He's trying not to laugh. He's trying to be a good fiance. I run downstairs because he was telling me, you need to tell the cops, because if you ignore it and you don't tell the cops and they have like an APB or whatever you call it out, and you're driving around and they pull you over, they're going to think you stole the car. So you need to tell them. So I had hung up the phone, ran down like the apartment stairs, ran 2 buildings over to the other lot where my car was parked, that I thought had been parked. The cop was still sitting there, I guess, filling out paperwork. And so I ran up to him and I was like, I am so sorry. I was like, just cancel everything we just did for the last hour. I said, my car is actually parked 2 buildings over in this lot on the other side of my apartment building. And the officer was so rude. Like, he's like, what? I was like, yeah. I said, my fiance just drove by on the way to work. He said he saw my car over there. I'm going to go check it out. And the officer's like, well, let me come over with you and make sure that it wasn't hot wired or anything. And I was like, no, you don't have to do that. I was like, I am a tired college student. I am so sorry. I'm overworked. And I parked it there Thursday night. All the memories back. I said, you don't have to worry about it. I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, I'm going to drive over. So I walk. It's the equivalent of like a block and a half. So I walk through a couple of the buildings to the other parking lot. He drives. So for him, it's like 2 minutes. For me, it's 5 or 6. And he drives over, parks behind my car, and is standing there waiting for me. Asks me to open the car with my keys. Sits in the driver's seat. Examines the steering wheel, examines underneath to make sure none of the wires popped out. And I'm sitting there like, for real, you are rubbing salt in a wound. Like, I'm sitting here telling you I'm stupid. I'm sitting here telling you that I'm just overtired and I now have to call my parents, tell them I found my car. I have to call if they call the insurance company by this point, I have to call the insurance company. Was like, this is just so embarrassing. And my 3 roommates knew about it. Oh my gosh, I was like, seriously. And our group of people, as you know, college students, everything spreads like wildfire. I'm like, I am the biggest idiot. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. Like, this was legitimately just an overexhausted person. And he kept asking me, are you sure your friends aren't pulling a prank on you? Are you sure? Like, no, officer. I was trying to be so respectful. And I could tell that he knew that I was telling the truth. But I felt like he was rubbing it in. And maybe that's my perspective. But I just, oh my gosh, guys, to this day, my heart sinks when I tell the story. So I guess this is my therapy of getting it out in the open, putting it on video and telling the world. So that isn't all of it. You would think everything was done. The officer ended up leaving. I called my fiance, told him thank you, everything was fine. The officer knows. I called my parents. They were grateful. They had not called the insurance company yet. My mom said I needed to rest and just take the day off. So I laid back down because I'd already called into work. And as I'm laying there, I'm sitting there, like, I'm wide awake, okay? My adrenaline is running. And I'm like, if I don't go to work, I'm throwing away X amount of dollars that I need. And I'm just going to lay here. I'm not going to get anything accomplished. I'm too worked up to do schoolwork. I'm too worked up to go back to sleep. All of my roommates are getting ready to go to work. I'm fully ready. I'm still fully dressed. I just have to throw shoes on. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go to work. So by the time I get to work, I think it's like around 10 o'clock or something, and I just show up. And I was like, hey, before I clock in, do you still need me? Everything worked out with my car. And they're like, yeah, we're swamped. Hop on a register. So I clock in and I start working, and they're like, so what happened? Like, car trouble. And I tried so hard not to tell them. And finally, I couldn't hold it in. I needed to tell somebody because I was almost in tears with what had happened. And these were like your normal coworkers that aren't your friends. Like, they're not mean, but they're not invested in your life. They don't laugh and then say, hey, it's going to get better, or this is something you'll laugh about someday. No. Instead, big mistake telling them, because for the next 5 to 6 months, every time I went out to go to my car, they're like, do you need help getting to your car? Do you remember where you parked? Like, make sure you go past the yellow line, because we all park past the yellow line as employees. And I know they were trying to do like this inside joke or make fun of it, but it just, I don't know. It was too soon. You know, sometimes it's just too soon to make light of things. And now, I mean, it's super funny. It's one of my embarrassing stories. I think I'm most embarrassed about how much I believed that my car was stolen. Like, no, officer, seriously, I did not loan my keys to any friends. This is exactly where I parked. Look, there's, like, I sold the story, like, sold it so well that I believed it myself. And I think that's the embarrassing part for me. But to this day, my husband laughs about it. I laugh about it now too. But I think that calls to be quite an embarrassing story, right? So I just wanted to share that. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all get tired. Yeah. So that's my embarrassing tale, part 2. How my car got stolen, but it didn't get stolen. And yeah. Sorry, I'm putting off camera. I'm putting down my containers that I'm using. Excuse me. So that's all she wrote. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, so I have one more embarrassing tale to tell you. I'm not going to give you a preview quite yet. I want you to come back. So yeah, if you want to hear it or you like this story, give us a thumbs up. If you want to be notified about it, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And hit the little bell, and it will tell you when my next video is posted. So I hope that this time has brought you happy drilling. And until we next meet, be blessed.